Okay, here we go. Does everyone have a calculator? If you don't, you want to go grab it back there. Let's talk about our main topic today. Main common thing that we're going to be discussing today is overtime. We've been talking about wages. This is the fourth section we're in now. We've been talking about wages and what your pay is going to be, but we've never talked about what would it be if you had overtime. Some people get overtime if you work a holiday, or if you put in a maximum of 40 hours, which you guys are kids and you should not be putting in 40 hours. That's against the law. But overtime is something you will have to deal with eventually at some point. If you have a job that pays hourly rates, or if you have a certain contract day, they'll pay you overtime. So here's the idea. There's two things. There's regular pay. There's regular wages. There's time and a half. Time and a half. And then there's double. There's double time. Okay, so these are my three basic bullets today just to make sure. The top one is normal stuff we were used to. You work your normal wages, you figure out what your pay is going to be. The bottom two are the special case. That's where if you worked overtime. Now, this book is, I think, 5-6 years old. So their idea of overtime could potentially change depending on, the year. So what I mean by that is typically like time and a half wage is anything over 40 hours a week. And it is not a holiday and not Sunday. Not a holiday or Sunday. Now, this is where I say this is a little bit dated. Here's why. The 40-hour work week, your 40-hour work week could start Sunday, if that makes sense to you. So like you could start Sunday and work through Thursday or Friday, where you're putting in your 40 hours. So that's where this is like debatable. Okay? The book says time and a half is for anything over 40 hours, typically like Saturdays. Now, double time pay. Obviously you can probably figure out what this is. It's when you're over 40 hours, obviously. But this is where it is a holiday or Sunday. So that you have to kind of look at what days you're working. So if you normally work like Monday through Friday, you put in your 40 hours a week, and they ask you to come in Sunday, now you're getting potentially double time pay. Like yesterday was Labor Day. Most businesses offer some type of overtime. Maybe not pure double time, but some jobs do. Okay. And you have to work yesterday during Labor Day, where you didn't get paid extra. Oh yeah, some do, some don't. It just depends on if that's your normal work day. Like if you work like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. So yeah, you could be in that boat where it happens. Typically, like I always find it funny. Like Labor Day, it's supposed to be a day where everyone has a day off, but that's if you're a full-time employee, a federal employee, like someone that doesn't get normal times off. Like yesterday, like I found it funny that I was driving around and I saw that the union for the railroad was working. Like I would assume they would have that day off, and they didn't. So they were working, and I'm sure they were not getting paid overtime for that. That was probably just their normal work week. So it was one of those things like the book can date itself a little bit, and this is probably one of the instances where it does. But let's talk about calculations for how to do this. So let's say you work a normal 40-hour work week. 40 hours. Okay, you're going to put in 40 hours this week, and you're going to, let's say you get paid, let's say your wages are, your hourly rate is, let's say it's $10.75 an hour. Let's say you start working at Quick Trip and they're paying you $10.75 an hour. Okay. So what you do to figure out your wages, just multiply those two numbers together, right? 40 times $10.75. Okay, now if you have a calculator, I do need to know what that calculation is.
70.
$70 even?
Wait.
It's 430.
Thank you. 430, anything extra?
No.
Okay. What? I'm just making up random numbers on me here.
70.
All right. So 40 times 1075, you get $430. Now, that's your normal wages. I'm not considering taxes coming out. Now, let's say you did your normal 40-hour work week, and now you worked 6 hours on Saturday. So 6 hours Saturday, extra. Now, this is the time when you have to calculate what your actual pay is going to be. We have to recalculate what your hourly rate is. For after overtime, you have to take time and a half. So that's 1.5 times your 1075. This, because you're going overtime, that's time and a half. It's normal 100% of your wages plus an extra half, 1.5. That's where they get that. What is 10.75 times 1.5?
16.13.
Is that true? Let's double check.
Yes.
Okay. All right, but anyways, so we have our $16.13. That's time and a half. It's 1.5 times 1075 because we're on overtime on a Saturday. And now the total that you're going to get paid on Saturday is you're taking your 1613 times the hours you worked times 6. 1613 times 6. What are you getting paid on Saturday? A lot.
96.78.
96.78. Somebody double check that. We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot. To me, that's a lot of money. For working 6 hours, you get almost $100. That's pretty good. I think that's pretty good pay. Now, here's the idea. Your total, if that's the hours you worked that week, you add up your wages here, you add up your other wages, and you get your total that you get paid that week. Obviously, the taxes come out, higher tax bracket, the more you get paid, the higher the tax bracket you're put into. So it's actually better if you get paid more times in a month than less times in a month. What I mean by that, if they can pay you every 2 weeks, that's actually better than once a month because you'll be put in a different tax bracket. It's one of those weird things that it's nicer if you get more paychecks just because of the tax system, how it works. And they just look at one check and they calculate your yearly wage on the one check. So if you get paid a lot, they figure you're getting paid a lot per year, but that could just be one fluke check where it's just, they pay you once a month, not twice a month. And so just be careful of that. It's better to get multiple paychecks if you're ever going to that type of business. So like you want to be paid every 2 weeks or every 4. Pick 2 weeks. It'll save you a ton of money. It will. You'll get more money in cash back. All right. Now, is there any questions with time and a half pay? Why I took 1075 times 1.5? It's your normal hourly rate plus a half extra. Half of 1075 added to it was 1613. Are we good so far? Double time pay. So let's say you worked, and I'm going to use your example where you worked yesterday. Sorry, it was a holiday, but if they worked double time pay. So now double time pay on a holiday, so say Labor Day, and you normally don't work on Labor Day, what you do is you take your 1075, so let's say you worked 5 hours yesterday. So, and this is a holiday. So what you do is you take your 1075 and you multiply by 2. So if I multiply by 2, let's see, it's 15, carry 1, 1, 2, what is that, 2150?
Yes.
Okay, so you're getting 2150 an hour if you worked overtime on a holiday, and then you take your 5 times 2150. Which total is? That's quite a bit of money.
107.50.
$107 just working overtime. If you worked 5 hours at double time pay. Now here's the weird part. Like let's say this is a perfect week to talk about. This will be my last example of the day. Here's my example. Let's say Monday was a holiday. Okay, and they paid you, your double time rate for being there on a holiday. You may not get overtime the rest of the week, even if you work a Saturday. The reason being is that you got to put in a normal 40 hours after the holiday to get to pass that overtime pay. So you might actually have to put in a Saturday just to get to back to 40 hours. Because it actually depends on the calendar itself, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And the idea is that if this was a holiday, you might have to figure out what to put in normal to get up to 40 hours and get your normal paycheck. So you might have to put in 8 hours through Saturday. That's just something that you gotta think about. The reason why I bring that up is one of the examples I've told you about is that during my summers when I was going to college, I worked at Larson Manufacturing in Clear Lake. And if we ever had a holiday, let's say we had 4th of July during the summer, right? 4th of July, let's say, landed on a Monday, let's say. Well, we'd have Monday off, but we'd have to work through Saturday to get our normal 40 hours in. So that was something we had to think about. It was nice getting a holiday off, but sometimes you actually have to put in your normal 40 hours anyway, because that's something they require to get that overtime pay. You have to put in 40 hours plus, the extra day. So that was something that we constantly had to think about when you're working. All right, questions at all about double time, time and a half, and regular hours? Okay, last thing I want you to do here to get done today, I want you to add up those three and tell me what your final paycheck is. That, and that. Tell me your final paycheck. Total wages for the week. This is your last one of the day. If we get it right, you're done. What do we get?
$634.28.
Oh, $634.28. And that's in 1 week. Done. So keep that in mind. That's how you calculate if you have multiple hours, if you have multiple things you have to do. Okay. It was just something that I want to talk about. Tomorrow we'll do more examples of this. I'll have you try ones out by yourself. I'll try different jobs. I'm going to try to get some different pays from different jobs so we can get some different calculations going. But yeah, we're done for the day. It's pretty easy. You have about 20, 30 minutes here. You can relax, you can make fixes on homework, you can work on other homework if you have it. But it's kind of a nice, easy day for you. I like to take it off just because you guys worked pretty hard on Friday last week.